primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core World News.
You may fire when ready.
From the bright center of the galaxy, I'm Grex Kondek, and you're listening to Core World News, your all-night news service providing in-depth coverage of all the latest stories from every sector of the galaxy. Now, the news segment rundown from March 22nd, 2023. Fistful of Beskar. 99 problems, but a bad batch ain't one. But first, this news.
All right, thank you very, very much, Grex. Really exciting week in Star Wars this week. Can't wait to talk to you about it. Great to see you all, out there kind of through the I don't know, I can't really see you actually, but I'm glad you're there. Yeah, so this is, we actually got a little news this week in addition to Mandalorian and Bad Batch. Lindelof actually had a pretty funny cryptic tweet that a lot of people were talking about, I think it was last week, talking about how hard it is to write a Star Wars, and people were like, what does that mean? And we found out this week he left the project.
Yeah, he's out. He's gone.
Yeah.
That's tough news, given how impressed I was by Lindelof's last few projects that have been just stellar. I thought he would be a perfect candidate for a new film. Sad to see him go. I think there's other news on the front, too. I think the Daniels might be joining Skeleton Crew. I think that was an announcement that I saw floating around as well. So
who's Daniels?
Bad news, some good news. But yeah, Lindelof is out. So and I think it was just an early stage of development. So this wasn't in any stage of production. So that's interesting to note. But I'm sure there's still a script there. I'm sure that whatever he did come there to do, it still exists. It just might be shaped by someone new in the coming months.
Yeah. Ben, the Daniels are the directors of Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Yeah. So I can't remember their surnames, but buddies and pals who both by the first name Daniel.
Yeah.
Oh, the Daniels. Cool.
Yes.
I got it. So sorry, I'm new to all that. Obviously, I did see the Oscars.
You're forgiven.
And saw them clean up, but
yeah.
That is really interesting. Yeah, I'm bummed about it. I was really excited to see what Lindelof would do, and maybe it's a team effort. I don't know if to be encouraged or not that, Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy and all the other powers that be, if there are any, are so tough on scripts. I think it's probably a good thing that they're as discerning as possible. But I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. How do you guys feel about that?
I'm definitely bummed by it. I mean, Lindelof's Watchmen was one of the best things of the last decade. It really was amazing because it was able to thread the needle of being like just super creative and entertaining and of the moment, and also taking a property that existed and honoring it, but doing something completely new with it, which is maybe something that would have been welcomed at Star Wars. Yeah. I think Lindelof is probably, I don't know what happened there. My guess is that he wanted more free reign and just like, give me your Star Wars and I will do what I think is best for it. And they probably said, that's really creative. We don't want to do whatever you want to do because we're a larger property, right? Yeah. The Watchmen property was like the standalone one season. You can kind of mess with it however you want. He's big enough that he can pick and choose, right? Where if they don't want to do what he wants to do, he can, I don't blame him for necessarily walking away from that.
Yeah. We think about like all the scripts that have been like, the only scripts that haven't been like altered and like reworked by someone else have been pretty much The Last Jedi and I think Andor, right? And like everything else. Actually, and I guess Filoni's stuff he's been allowed free reign to write whatever he wants to write. But yeah, Patty Jenkins, hers got trashed. Colin Trevorrow. Got
Kevin Feige's out.
Kevin Feige, yeah, and then even Gareth Edwards, he had to get punched up by the Andor guy. Why can't I think of him?
Tony Gilroy.
Tony Gilroy. I was like, Troy. Sorry.
That was a rare. All three of us blanked at the same time.
yeah.
Grant's gonna save us.
Well, I think there's other writers. There's other, Gary Whitta. There's other writers on Rogue One too. I didn't know who you were trying to talk about. But Tony Gilroy obviously came in. Yeah, I'm wondering. I'm wondering if this is just the result of sort of like bloated bureaucracy and the sort of idea of maybe like a roadmap or a sort of like
maybe a push towards like High Republic material and like synergistic marketing initiatives and things like that. I wonder if that stuff is boxing in the movies or I'm hopeful that the movies can kind of jump to a new era of the timeline. Yet we have Return of the Jedi to promote, and we have some High Republic stuff to promote, given there's so many books coming out, and then we're now seeing that High Republic is connected to the Jedi Survivor in a major way. It just makes me think that maybe the High Republic era is the next move, and if that's the company's kind of moving towards if the entire brand is moving in that direction. Is that ruffling feathers for people who are trying to carve out other eras of storytelling? That's just kind of what I'm wondering at this point.
Yeah.
And is Lindelof at this point, is someone at high up saying, is there any way we can fit in a High Republic, either plot element, story device, something here that like it just ties to that era in some way, or did he have free range to do whatever he wanted? I have to think they're trying. There's a lot of synergy that's being thought about at the same time. So
I'm all about synergy, man. Like I love that that's my favorite thing about the sort of Disney takeover here is that Kathleen Kennedy's really brought order to the galaxy, but. Yeah, I just worry that we're missing out on great stories. Like, I just think, give great top-level talent that loves Star Wars room to play in the sandbox. Yep. And I don't want that to get sort of curbed or diluted because of, global capitalism.
I agree. I think I was listening to the podcast Fat Man Beyond from last week, and Mark Bernardin was talking a bit about this about streaming, and it was in reference to not Star Wars, though a little bit of Star Wars. He made a really interesting point, which I knew but didn't think about, which is just like Disney Plus at this point. If you've subscribed or if you were going to subscribe because of Star Wars, you have subscribed to Disney Plus. That by doing a new show, you're getting net zero new subscribers. Like you've got them at this point. So all you're trying to do is to not lose subscribers, right? And so that becomes an issue that now you're just kind of maintaining level. Where you make your big bucks is movies, right? You need a movie to succeed.
Yeah.
And if you look at the last three movies, and this is kind of where I went with it after Bedard talked about that, is you look at the last three movies that Star Wars put out. You had The Last Jedi, which was a firestorm of controversy for dumb reasons, mostly bots online, but it was still nonetheless a big, cultural issue. Then you had Solo, which by their estimation underperformed. And then you had Rise of Skywalker, which is the lowest rated Star Wars film critically of any of the Star Wars movies. It is, I think, the only technically rotten on Rotten Tomatoes for whatever that's worth, which is not worth anything. But you look at those three things, right? And the fact that streaming is just like, we got to maintain.
Yeah.
I think they're very much like, we need the perfect movie to come out next. Like we need to reinvigorate. And so I think they're being very picky, very choosy, and maybe to the point of, like you said, Grant, like just the bureaucracy of it might be slowing things way down.
Yeah.
My fear is they're not going to move from that date, and we're going to get a similar Rise of Skywalker issue, which is we got to rush something out just to get something out on that date, and then we've just created the same problem over again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Same. And I don't want to see A New Hope again. I think, if they're trying to have another hit, like they need to tell a new story, and I think they know that.
I wouldn't mind seeing A New Hope from like the dark side or something. Like someone possibly is a young farm boy, but just raised by, just on the basically is told to follow the dark side or join the Sith or something of that nature, only to awaken from that sort of like that misstep and find the light again or whatever. Something that's kind of inverted would be fun. But I'm with you, Ben. We don't need to see A New Hope again.
Like, I loved Force Awakens, but I mean, it was what it was. It was a giant homage to an earlier movie with some new, twists and great characters. But
I am slightly worried about the brand hitching their horse to the High Republic, just given that I can't think of a lot of historical impact from that era. Like, were there any major historical things that happened that sort of like reverberated through the galaxy to the point where Ki-Adi-Mundi would like talk about it, during the prequels?
Yeah,
I don't think so. Like nothing really was said in the prequels that alluded to anything during that time.
Heavy-handed retconning, right? If that happens, that they're going to have to write books during the original trilogy timeline where people are reacting to things that happen, which is kind of what we're getting in the Mandoverse a little bit, right? I think we've all talked about them leading towards, and we'll talk more about that a little bit today, about them leading leading to Thrawn, probably another war.
Yeah,
that's never mentioned in the sequel trilogy, right?
But isn't like the biggest sort of hype, like trailer hype event? Couldn't it just utilize the Ki-Adi-Mundi footage of being like the Sith haven't been around for a millennium, and then we go back a millennia to that point in time?
Yeah, if you're gonna go back,
to me,
go
that
back
is
further.
Like a critical moment that I would utilize to reignite the franchise.
Yeah, I think it's a fair request to say, like, if it's a feature film, it needs to capture a very momentous time in the galaxy.
Yes.
Whether it's a new momentous time or an established momentous time, it can't just be a small story. Like, you know, like Rogue One was, I guess it's not a small story at all, but Solo was a small story, relatively, right? So I think if it's going to be, it can't just be in an hour and a half of good content. I think it needs to be, you know, a touchstone in the timeline.
Right. And I wonder if they'll do like another hero for another generation type of story, a hero that rises to fight in a war, instead of sort of like showcasing the greatest war that ever happened. That's where upon, you know, in which heroes are called upon to serve and fight in this war. Like, I almost think they should work backwards instead of doing another, like, here's another hero, the rise of another hero. It should maybe be, the war should maybe be a character almost in the story and you know, be of more consequence. More of the politics are alluded towards. You have good definitions of what both sides are, where they're headquartered, how they work, the structures, instead of getting all this ancillary material after the fact that shows us the inner workings. Like, it would be nice to actually have the war be a proper theater in the next trilogy.
Yeah, that sounds great. I love the idea of the Sith Wars, you know, and how they ended up or where they went. That would be really fun. If we were going to go back, I think that would be my favorite thing. I love the High Republic and want to see some live action stuff, but I feel like we could probably get let's see what the Acolyte does and maybe a live action show or something.
I'm similar. Like okay. So since you know they did the recanonization or wiped out old EU, I've been a little whatever about the books because they've been playing in a very tiny little sandbox that's allowed them to do stuff, right? Because they don't want to mess with the movies and the TV shows, understandably. I have been loving the High Republic books because it reminds me of old EU, because you can kill off characters, you can introduce characters, you can do wild things. So part of me is just like, please don't bring it into movies and TVs, because the second you do that, the books are gone. They got to shut it down. They got to be really close because the movies and TVs are going to take precedent, right? So I'm like, a couple of like, I don't mind. Like, I like that the Acolyte is, although it's still part of the High Republic era, it seems like it's 200 years after what we're reading. Like, it seems like it's going to be a very like loosely connected. It's more just within the same era, but not of any consequence to what we're reading, is my guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, could be.
And you go. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Oh, no, I was going to turn a corner here towards Survivor.
Do it.
There was another trailer that gave us a lot more information about the game. Well, not a lot, but more information about the game. We saw Marin is her name, I believe.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people were like, "Where is she?" We want her there, and she played a big part. A couple other new characters, and some insinuation to connections to the High Republic, which are kind of fun. And a mission as well for him, right? It's like this secret asteroid or something that they need to locate or whatever.
Right.
I didn't get too much plot information from that, but it did look like a bunch of new characters are being introduced, which was pretty fascinating. I saw some cross-guard lightsabers in there. I saw High Republic robes. One guy's wearing High Republic robes. I mean, it's safe to guess that that's a High Republic character of some kind who's been in cryo or something. And there's a lot of fun, tantalizing new information that's come out of that trailer. The game looks exciting. I can't wait to play. So it'll be fun.
Yeah,
going to Coruscant again. Coruscant rendered in a game, like that'll be cool.
Yeah, it's raining Coruscant now. If you're ever a Coruscant fan, which we are, we're getting a lot of that lately, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we got Coruscant in Mando, we got Coruscant in Bad Batch, we got Coruscant in Jedi Survivor. It's coming back in a big way.
I know. I can't wait to play on Coruscant. That's something I haven't done in a long time, and it's
and it's speaking of just jumping right back to the movie ideas again. I think there's in lots of Legends material and sort of old Tales of the Jedi comics and stuff like that. There was a kind of siege of Coruscant by the Sith, like way back. To me, that is the most interesting sort of battle that you could do, because it's like taking over the galactic capital essentially, like. Not to allude to anything in the real world, but it's just a fascinating.
Well, I wasn't thinking about anything until you said that. Rad. Well, why don't we move on to Mandalorian, because that is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
let's do it.
And now, to Fistful of Beskar.
All right. Grant, you have a little summary ado about
You bet.
this episode?
And I got to redeem myself from last week from that meandering mess of a summary.
I adored it.
Yeah, so this is chapter 20, The Foundling, directed by the incredible Carl Weathers. The episode opens, we descend towards a beach crowded with Mandalorians sparring and testing out their various gadgets and weapons. Noticing Grogu is focused more on the surrounding wildlife than training with the others, Din scoops him up and places him before the blue and teal helmeted foundling we met in episode 1. Grogu and the foundling, we will learn, is named Ragnar, and the son of Paz Vizsla, agree to spar with training darts. Grogu is nearly bested before he puts his Jedi training to good use, vaults over the boy to disorient him, and tags him with all 3 darts to win the challenge. After the bout ends, a massive winged reptile snatches Ragnar in its talons and flies away. The Mandalorians give chase, but only Bo-Katan and her ship is fast enough to follow and track the beast. Having located its nest, Bo returns and musters a hunting party to rescue the foundling. While the hunting party travels to the creature's roost, Grogu gets some one-on-one time with the armorer. While the armorer crafts a new piece of armor for Grogu, Grogu is haunted by the memory of his escape from the Jedi Temple. In a flashback, it is finally revealed that it was none other than Kelleran Beck who saved Grogu from the massacre. After the vision passes, the armorer rewards Grogu with a new breastplate. Meanwhile, across the sand-swept landscape, the Mandalorian hunting party camps under an outcropping below the creature's nest. At the first light, the Mandalorians climb the rock spire and find the creature about to feed Ragnar to its young. The Mandalorians attack, but the creature takes flight with Paz and Ragnar in its clutches. The hunting party takes to the sky in pursuit of the creature and in combined effort free Paz and Ragnar from the bird-like reptile before it plummets into a lake and gets devoured by an amphibious dinosaur. Upon returning to the camp, the armorer notices Bo-Katan lost a palindrome in the fray and offers to replace it. Instead of the Night Owl's signet, Bo asks if she can have an inlay of the mythosaur. Bo then tells the armorer about the mythosaur she saw in the living waters on Mandalore, but the armorer seems reluctant to believe it was either a vision or wishful imaginings. Once again, Bo gazes at the metallic mythosaur skull on the wall, and we roll credits.
Nice. Well done.
That pretty much encapsulates the episode.
Yeah.
Lot going down there.
Yeah.
Chills. Like,
Yeah.
throughout.
Yeah.
Like, incredible. It's getting the flashback, Grogu's flashback. The continuation of that was remarkable.
Yeah.
What'd you get?
Same. Loved it. A lot happened. We're back to our like normal, like half an hour run time on this one. It was short but sweet. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, short but strong. I love, like, even from the intro, like, again, I love myself a good landscape, good Star Wars landscape, and just flying in, and then we had the bunch of Mandalorians training, just doing Mando stuff. And there's definitely like musical cues from Game of Thrones in there, like absolutely.
Yeah.
And this was a very Game of Thrones thing, and we were just talking about the High Republic and like how they're tying it in. I really feel like they may try and mash the fantasy button for a couple years or a decade or something in Star Wars, because it's like it's pretty popular now. There's not a lot of stuff going on, House of the Dragon sort of here and there, and then the Lord of the Rings spinoffs are doing some stuff, but I think there's some crossover there, and there's definitely room in Star Wars for some more fantasy kind of stuff.
It's funny you say that, because I feel like you could just truncate the summary to Mandalorians fight dragon or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
in this episode specifically. And it's just so much fun that Favreau and Filoni are just... Basically, the Mandalorians are training on this like sort of like wild, inhospitable planet where there's lots of dangerous creatures, and I'm like, that's very fitting for a warrior culture, and it's cool to see them fight all these different creatures. Every time we cut back to them training, they do not get a break. These people just it's just constant attacks.
Dangerous planet. It was like, but I'm like, I guess that makes sense. There's someone on Reddit who's keeping track of the giant monsters now, like, and it's just like every episode there's a new giant monster in the show.
Like, forget about IG-11. Let's get an auto turret. Let's find one of those.
Right. You're going to be facing things 3 times the size of your starship. So figure it out.
So that dinosaur, amphibian dinosaur that is still yet to be identified by any name on Wikipedia is just called dinosaur turtle. That's what the page of is. It's pretty great.
Yeah. It's a giant crocodile turtle.
I think I've called it everything you can call it in every summary I've done. So
just
until we get a specific species name, we'll just dino turtle. Yeah.
Despite this like episode being like very action packed and very Carl Weathers flex, it was also very it tugged at the heartstrings a lot. I mean it just you see poor Grogu like just sort of thrust into this like battle culture, which is like not his thing. He's also just a little kid, but it started a sort of through line with creatures and Grogu, and his relationship to other life forms. When we learned he wasn't really moving rocks in the beginning, he was just sort of playing in the sand while everyone was training, right? But he was actually bringing creatures towards him and like speaking with the little like hermit crab creatures that were there. And so it's like, okay, we know the mythosaur is out there and someone's got to tame the mythosaur. And then like now we're dealing with these other beasts that are going to be a part of it. I just feel like there's a lot of large, turtle dinosaur sized breadcrumbs being dropped here.
That's fascinating. Yeah. That's fascinating you bring that up because that begs the question whether that flying reptile was also brought there by Grogu's reaching out with the Force or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
I also love this idea because this could be the ultimate subversion of the man myth, right? The ultimate subversion is, hey, all that thing that you guys thought some big mighty warrior was going to rise up to be this new Mandalore. What if it's the kid? Yeah. What if it's Grogu? You can connect with the mythosaur better than anyone else. What if the mythosaur was only in the living waters because Grogu was there? Like what if the creature wasn't there for Bo or Din? And they're sort of just red herrings for us.
Yeah, I think last week, Ben, you kind of went on the list of the beasts that Grogu has interacted with and tamed, and it is just like undeniable the more you watch it that they're clearly hitting the button, mashing the button that he talks to these animals, right? We saw the Purgles in the first episode of the season, right? Like they're just laying it right out there.
Yeah, and I mean now you've got these avian hatchlings, dragon hatchlings there, and Grogu's there, and that's going to happen at some point. And I'm pretty sure in one of the trailers you see Mandalorians riding dragons. So if not, I just dreamed that, and then it came to life without me having to do anything. So that's cool too. But
speaking of Game of Thrones, Daenerys gets 3 dragons.
Yep, 3 dragons.
3. Yep.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's funny when I think Emilia Clarke, I think of Grogu immediately.
Yeah. Right. Totally.
Both
like
stunning beauties.
Yeah. That scene, and not to skip ahead, but I literally wrote my notes. I'm like, after they killed the mama bird, which I'm like, okay, I get. Well, they didn't kill. They knocked her in the water, and
nature took its course.
Yes,
but I'm just like, literally like, what about the baby birds? Yeah. And then literally 2 minutes later, it's just like, oh, okay.
I know.
I love that they know now that they can't do that.
Yeah,
and just leave.
I think I'm just changing into an old man, but I hate seeing any creatures die.
Agreed.
I really it hurt to see that dragon get eaten. But Grant, you reminded me of this a while ago. It's like Star Wars is kind of metal. Like at its core, people lose limbs. It's like people die. There's like gratuitous violence and machinery and like things happen. And, this is falling in line with that. It's got to be a little spooky and real too.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. However dark you can push it, it's only going to make the hopeful moments that much brighter. So I honestly am in favor of, some dark aspects to the storytelling.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the reemergence of the Empire in this season, right? And so I think we're going to get some pretty dark turns.
Right. And when you talk about the episode being emotional, it was kind of interesting that Grogu was looking somber and fearful when he was having his vision of being rescued, because it was almost like it was a very heroic rescue.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anything true. I mean, obviously the Jedi who initially were defending him, fell in battle, and that's dramatic. And I guess that's what he was feeling throughout. But he still seems afraid when the vision is ending, and they're just in hyperspace, and he's just seeing the stars streaking by. And I'm wondering if there's a third part to this flashback, or we're going back again, and we're going to see, even more of what happened there, and if that trauma sort of aligns with what we're seeing. So that'll be interesting to see that.
We know it can't end well between him and Keller and Beck, right? Like, it just can't. And so he might be thinking that, and that's kind of the way I read it too, Grant, was just that he saw his entire home just destroyed, right? He was whisked away, and everyone that he felt close to, he probably, and again, he's a Force user, right? So he felt them all disappear in the Force, I'm sure, during that whole thing.
The elevator ride I was so scared for him.
Yeah. I know.
That was tough.
I also liked, we'll come back around to it, but I want to talk about that subversion thing that they're kind of doing in this episode. It's a lot of subversion in this episode in terms of I literally started writing, no, don't leave him alone with the armor, because I still don't trust the armor.
I don't need
And
to
then
go
by the
out,
end of
and
the episode, I'm like,
wait, no, it's all right.
Wait,
It's all right.
yeah, she's good. And then same thing, we'll talk about Paz Vizsla relationship to the Mando and stuff like that, where it's a lot of like, I have a lot of notes going, well, I wonder if we're just wrong about what we think's going on here, which I love being wrong.
No, I think we just mistook her as sort of modern Death Watch, where she's definitely she's definitely subscribes to the old ways, like the old ways.
Yeah.
Like I think we
Pre-Death
just
Watch
misplaced her alignments, really. So, but that could be a rug pull later, right? The later on they could be like, we actually relate. All these horned Mandos are going to show up and be like, yeah, we're the Death Watch, whatever, we're Death Watch contingent, and then she's going to be like, oh yeah, you're welcome to join as well, even though there's like clearly a bad vibe.
Yeah, I think they are setting us up. I think that the reason why they're making us start to feel, or trying to make us feel like he's found a family, is for that family to suddenly, show their true colors. I also worried that if they are Death Watch and they've now introduced the idea of cloning, are we going to get our third form of Darth Maul at some point in this show?
There's a lot of Darth Maul chatter. I'm not a fan. We need to just stop the chatter, and then it won't happen. It'll be that simple.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, we can't.
The more we chat about it, the more it's
will
will it
to
into
happen.
being.
Yeah, exactly.
That flashback was tough, but great to see Ahmad Best back in the robes, doing some cool stuff in live action. Cool that they tied it into Naboo, was the one that was trying to ferry them out. I hope I was like, I instantly thought Handmaiden or something like that we would see. Keira Knightley or something, I don't know, but it would be cool if they, it'd be nice to see the other end of that trip. Is he going to go to Naboo, or he's just got the ship and he's just going to lay low? That makes probably more sense. Interesting to finally get that information about how he was rescued. We had a lot of guesses. I don't think Kelleran Beck was one of them.
No.
Yeah,
but I love the tribute to Ahmed Best.
I love
to
it.
give him this really, really important role in the story at this point. I mean, this is, for a lot of people, Grogu's their favorite character.
Yeah.
He's just the thing that they keep coming back to Mando for. They love Grogu, and to have Ahmed Best play this pivotal role in his origin, I think, is like so meaningful and such a nice new sort of like lane for him. Given that how Jar Jar was received by audiences back in the late 90s and 2000s. It's like, it's nice to see him in a role people can just unanimously love.
Yeah, he's like the Grogu's rescuer, and it's one of those things where it's just like, the internet had to have guessed it, because it's like, 1,000 monkeys and 1,000 typewriters, you're eventually going to get Shakespeare. Someone must have written Kelleran Beck somewhere on some internet site at some point guessing it. But who would have actually guessed that the host of, what was it, Jedi Temple Challenge would have ended up like, that's also like, that makes me so happy. It made me so happy when Ahmed Best was just hosting that, because it felt like, good, he deserves it. But do you think he ever thought, I'm hosting this kid show, it's kind of like not really in canon, and he's gonna get a call from be like, hey, do you want to take that character and like give him dual wielding lightsabers and like get some action scenes in there?
Right.
Yeah,
it was great.
Dual wielding was sweet, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see our guy Ahmed Best do it too. That was like, he just did some.
Yes, I think we lost Grant there for a second. But it was great to see him do that. And then, I did some research on Kelleran Beck on the Wikipedia, just to see, because I'd never watched the show. But yeah, nice. I guess, they sort of paint him as the dean of, like the dean of the, the younglings. Which is pretty cool.
Which makes sense, right? Which is funny, where it's just one of those things where if you're just taking that as canon, of course that would be the person that would be closest to Grogu at that moment. Yeah. No, I didn't notice. Do we know?
No, sorry, I didn't. I haven't checked that out. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're back. Cool.
Yeah,
I was just about to. Yeah.
I was worried, guys. Like somehow I just teleported away and came back.
Yeah, you we lost your video for a second too, but now you're back doing your thing, so it's good.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, for those of you joining us live, Adam, I don't know if you're watching Ticker, if anyone's watching us right now, but hello for doing that. And doing this live. Please feel free to chat something in, questions if you have thoughts or whatever. We'd love to talk about what you are thinking about on this or any topic really, Star Wars related.
Jason, as you speak, Jason Rosario just jumped. Jason just jumped in.
Jason?
Said hi.
Hey, Jason.
Hasn't watched yet, so he's muting us. So he's watching us muting.
Oh, that's good.
So who knows?
That's good.
That
Lots of spoilers.
He's so probably at work.
As we all know,
Ready? We'll all
spoilers
wait
from
for
the
Jason.
get-go.
Yeah, always. That's cool. Love Jason. So this is pretty amazing. I have one more really big topic I want to talk to you about on this show. If you do, and it was so I was in bed after we had done last Wednesday's show about Mandalorian, and I was trying to get to sleep. I had work at like stupid o'clock in the morning, like super early, and like one of those nights where you just can't go to sleep. And just my brain's just churning and churning.
So
and
you
I'm like,
put on you lock tinfoils in attack position. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a tinfoil nightcap. And I was just like, wait a second. Like I was thinking about Thrawn. And, we talked about how the battle makes sense, that it's like a Thrawn battle for sure. A Thrawn tactics where it's like, a couple fighters to draw you away, some bombers to blow the thing up, and then like a cleanup crew. But I really, the end of that thing would be he has some way to track. It's like the secret piece of tech that only Thrawn knows about. I feel like he has some way to track the Mandalorians through hyperspace. Like he wasn't trying to capture them. He let them get away. And he's trying to find the larger covert of Mandalorians for whatever reason.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that would be a very Thrawn tactic, right?
Right, that'd be a very Thrawn thing to do. Because if he wanted to kill them, he would have just killed them, But I feel like, no, he was flushing them out, forcing them to go someplace.
It would totally make sense because they would have a Star Destroyer. They could have a Star Destroyer there with an interdiction field, which would have prevented them from jumping to hyperspace. Like, if he wanted them at that moment, I think he could have had them.
Yeah.
Which, again... So too. It's very Star Wars, right? They let us get away. It's too easy, right? Like,
Do we know what the Empire did with all the Beskar? That they must have. Did they take any Beskar from Mandalore? Did they like strip the planet of Beskar or anything like that, or did they just bombed it basically?
I think they just bombed it. I mean, it seems like obviously the I forget what the character's name is. Werner Herzog's character,
the client.
The client. He obviously had a stash, so they had some. We saw a lot of armor still on Mandalore, so maybe that's there. But I don't know. I don't think we know. I mean, for all I know, it could be the infrastructure skeleton of the Death Star. Like it could be Beskar. I don't know. I mean, probably not, though, or else it would have survived that blast. But we don't know.
That's fascinating. We're all thinking Thrawn reveal at the end of this season, possibly.
Yeah, I think I mean, we're halfway through the season. There's still a lot more story to tell. I think we'll get a Thrawn.
And with another season coming after this, there's a good chance the heroes might end on their back foot, right? Thrawn might have the upper hand in however he's introduced. He might get Grogu. He might capture Pershing. He might, he might do a lot at the end, so they can lose this season and then next season maybe come back.
I know Favreau says that like he doesn't have an end in sight, but this is really starting to feel like the middle part of a story, right? Like it really is starting to feel like we're now entering the Empire Strikes Back phase of our Mandalorian story. So I think it's gonna be kind of dire for the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's been all rosy and fun. I mean, seeing Grogu get more armor just like made me so happy.
What do you think about that, guys? Is he now going to take like a blaster bolt center mass and like fly across a room or something? Can that happen now without us seeing?
Yeah.
Or a lightsaber? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he already theoretically could have stopped it with his chainmail, but now he's like got a signet, and she said he would grow into it, but I'm like, I don't know how much he's gonna grow.
Right? That seems like it fits him quite well now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like maybe. Yeah, I mean, I guess as a chest piece forever, but we'll see. I'm like, that's never fitting on his shoulder. I'll tell you.
No, can he take that off and throw it like Captain America or something? Like,
I literally thought it was a shield for a second. I thought they were giving him a Mythosaur a Beskar shield, but I'm like, okay, maybe.
Yeah,
I'm just glad it's on a helmet because
Yeah.
What's that going to look like? You know, it's
oh, you're by yourself on that one, Grant, because I want that helmet.
So he can't take the Creed. So that's,
yeah. All right. So okay, here's the thing. All right, you want I want to start negative and
Creed corner.
Positive.
Creed corner.
Yeah, okay. I love the Creed. It's great. That is some clunky bit of exposition that they forced Ragnar to do. Why can't he? Yeah, I'm like,
sure.
Well, we all know he doesn't speak, so there's got to be a better person. I will say though, what was masterful, or not masterful, what really, really worked was now that we have Bo-Katan playing ball, right? She's clearly kind of, we'll talk more about that, I'm sure. Yeah. At least like playing along or maybe buying in. It makes sense that she doesn't know. And that scene where she's like, how do you all eat? I actually really like that scene because that's exactly, it's a really great way of being able to like answer questions about this new breed of Mandalorian without it feeling like exposition, right? Because she's an outsider trying to learn the ways.
Yeah. I liked both of those things. I thought, this was a great, these were questions that the Star Wars fans have.
I'm very glad I got the answer. I wish I could have gotten it in a slightly different way. I don't know why Bo-Katan didn't ask that question.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to skip too far ahead, but I mean, I do want to get to that last scene at some point and just what your guys' read was on the armor and the bow sort of interaction there. Because utterly fascinating that when someone like Bo mentions she's seen the mythosaur, a real one, armor seems like sort of like indifferent. Like it was like
unfazed,
I was thinking the armor would be like ecstatic, be like,
unfazed.
where we've got to go see it, or I don't not like that, but just something to like the effect of like some excitement or some enthusiasm about seeing it. But nothing really.
Yeah,
this is where she felt. Sorry, you go.
Go for it, Adam. You started.
Oh, I was gonna say this is where she felt the most nefarious to me so far in the entire series. Because the fact that she didn't react to it at all is just like she's got plans, wheels upon wheels, spinning in her head about what to do with this.
Yep.
I see.
Yeah, that was my kind of takeaway.
I see her as a different type of character or archetype. I see her as sort of like the wushu grandmaster that lives on the top of the mountain.
Yep.
And is sort of just like, the wise old, master that's just sort of like, we'll see, like, okay, you said that. I'm not, she doesn't really have an opinion one way or the other. She's just like, this is the way. And it's
it's what it is. Yeah. It was either a vision or you actually saw it in either way.
Yeah. It was interesting that she cast doubt on it. And it seemed to me, as I was peering into Katie Sackhoff's helmet the right way, that Bo-Katan was doubting herself. She's like, did I see it?
Yeah.
But she, the armor did seem to intentionally cause those visions for Grogu. She's like, when you stare into the forge, you see your flaws.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. And I mean, she has these wizarding ways about her that are fascinating. And but I don't know. Maybe another shoe will drop. It's definitely those Mandalorian horns on her helmet that sort of always make me a little suspect of her. But it's still, but we don't have any reason really to doubt her except for wild speculation.
Yeah. No, agreed. It's what I'm loving about it. It's like I if they end up making her just that grandmaster and she's just stoic to the end, I would be like, yep, totally justified. Everything they did up to this moment supports that. If she ends up turning on them and like joining with Thrawn, I'd be like, that's great. Nothing they did throughout it like totally contradicts that, right? Like I think it's a great leaving the kind of character in doubt. And you could argue that the Mandalorian horns that are there, she seems the type of person that was like, I was led astray once, and I will keep these horns always to remind myself, right? Like you could paint it that way as well, right? It's just a reminder to herself.
I know.
Who knows?
That's the other on my wish list is to have her talk about the horns on her helmet.
Yeah, we'll get some more insight, I think.
I mean, Bo-Katan actually would be the one that's like, why do you still wear those things?
I mean, maybe that's why Bo-Katan's playing ball, right? Maybe because she's just now she wants to know, like, what is Maul's influence still strong, and she knows she has to play to figure it out.
Yeah, well, let's talk more about Bo-Katan. I mean, I guess we are right now. We're sort of covering all of it, but I mean, I love this turn for her. She's just sort of too. What am I doing here? Which is a very relatable thing for all of us as viewers to just be like, this is weird, but she's kind of likes it. She's like, I'm in a cult, so I'm in a cult. I feel like I wish I could call my dad. And right now, but I can't. And but she's just sort of riding with it, and watching her like slowly become a believer is really fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the episode was called The Foundling, right? We are assuming this episode title refers to Grogu. It also refers to Bo-Katan.
Yep.
Bo-Katan. Her home was destroyed in the last episode. She has no one. She has no connection. She's now brought here by Din Djarin. And I'm starting to believe, I gotta look at the titles. I'm like, is every title this season secretly referring to Bo-Katan?
Could be.
Like the convert last week, the foundling this week. Like, who knows, right? Like, it's really interesting. I am so in on, like, this is how you build a long arc of a seasons of shows. Is like, I'm okay that we're stepping away from Din Djarin a little bit. Like, his story's kind of at a plateau, which is fine. Like, he's kind of got everything he needed. He completed his hero's quest in his mind. I'm sure he's going to get more things going on, but he's now reaccepted. That's all he ever wanted. He's with Grogu. He's literally got everything he's ever wanted.
Yep.
He's got his foundling. He's got his covert.
He's got his worst dad mug. He's just,
exactly. Yeah.
He's all
oh my god.
Making Grogu train with darts.
Yeah.
He's like, no, this is gonna be awesome. Fight that guy.
He's like, this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
And
that's it.
Speak
yeah.
Nope.
Awesome. But he's fine. He can totally flip.
Yeah.
And now it's Bo-Katan's story. Yeah.
I know. I don't know if we're gonna do a roundup or not, but I think favorite line for me was Bo-Katan speaking to Grogu, being like, "It's okay, my dad did this too. He's just proud of you."
Yeah.
That was
It's
hilarious.
a nice little moment. Yeah.
Doesn't she kneel down and she strapped the darts to his wrist?
Yeah.
That was cute.
Yeah. Then she's just like, "How do I do this to make this look real?" And there's
We're
someone
doing our
underneath
Grogu
me
the
like
great moments. Oh yeah,
holding the
We're doing
arm
our
in
Grogu
place.
the great moments. Him waddling into the cave and like just the long sort of beat that it takes him to waddle up the same. It's amazing.
It's
It's like, the worse it looks, the better it looks.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I love that they
the
decided to stay practical, but man, that puppet really looks like a puppet sometimes. But again, as a kid of the 80s, I'm here for it.
It's still adorable.
Yeah.
It's still like everything he does. Like the more I
100%.
see him walk, it's like cuter. He's like, eh.
Yeah.
He's like a little penguin.
Yeah. It's so funny.
Oh, it's gorgeous. All right. So one other thing I thought about was hierarchy in this. I think that this episode developed was sort of like a sense of hierarchy among the Mandalorians, and it's obviously earned and not given. And we definitely see Bo-Katan and Din Djarin now sort of stepping up within the covert. This is happening very quickly, right? But obviously Bo-Katan was this mission. She got the honor of sitting near the fire with her helmet off to eat dinner. That was given freely, And again, we look at Paz Vizsla as sort of the keeper of the way beyond the armor, like of this covert. He's been a diehard this whole time. And so it meant a lot for him to provide that to her. And then towards the end, when, again, Din Djarin really was the one who rescued Paz Vizsla's son, Ragnar Vizsla.
Yeah. I want to talk about that, too.
Yeah, I mean, then that was the most Carl Weathers moment of the show. Like, I just wish they had, like, the bro, like, arm, like,
I thought for sure they were going to get it. Yeah.
Sorry, but go ahead, Greg.
Dylan. Dutch.
Yes, exactly. That meme, like, I need that in Mandalorian.
Yeah. So, and then that sort of reverses my thinking on, Mandalore candidates, when Din is the one who kind of actually comes, like, saves everyone at the end. Like, he kind of shoots the, like, ensnaring grapple on the thing, and then he catches, I think, the boy. Like, he does a lot of the heroics, even though Bo sort of, like, has the conviction to lead the muster the hunting party and find the boy and track him all this stuff. Din really does close this ordeal.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's fine to play that role. He's just like, whoops, save the day again. It's fine. It's great.
Yeah. But it's not looking for anything outside of it. But that's the fascinating thing is that we get that moment of that this is the way between the two of them. And I mean, there can still definitely be conflict between Paz Vizsla and Din Djarin, but just, I don't know. It feels like they kind of close that loop a little bit here. Like, I just wonder if we're not going to get the infighting that we were kind of expecting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I liked what y'all were saying at the beginning of this episode, or not, I guess not even in the beginning, a few minutes ago, about actual diehard Death Watch people that still exist. I think they could fight other Mandalorians. Like, it's not all going to be throwing roses at each other for every Mandalorian. they're going to run into a different. They need to run into a different ethos beyond Bo-Katan's sort of difference. I mean, Sabine Wren again is out there somewhere. I don't know if we're going to get her in this season, but I feel like it's very possible. And she would be one of those that would be like, you guys like destroyed Mandalore and my family. Like, you know, it would take her a lot for her to come around. I mean, and Bo-Katan isn't exactly the best person to talk to Sabine either, because you know, they're probably not on good terms right now. But who knows? But I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Everything's rosy in the covert, except for all the killer monsters that are everywhere.
Yeah, maybe they should move the covert. Is my only note.
I do feel like that's the thing, is like they have to, right? Like this is a great episode, but if you look at this episode, like everything happened was internal to the covert. Nothing happened to push the larger story forward, which is great. I'm not saying it has to, right? Like this is the episode we needed at this moment to kind of build the characters and build the strength. But like next episode, something's got to happen externally, right? And I think that might be when you start running into another, or for all we know, this is when we get our Boba Fett episode, right? We are right in the middle of the season. Who knows?
Sure.
Maybe it's just going to be Boba Fett.
Yeah.
But much like this episode ends very similar to the last episode, wherein I kind of don't know where the next episode's going. There's really no tell.
No, I have no idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, could go anywhere. Yeah. One thing is interesting though. So we did get the answer to the question: is Paz, is Ragnar Paz Vizsla's son? Which we get that answer. The other lingering question is, who is the mom?
Right. And is he adopted, or is it by blood, or do we know?
Is he adopted?
Yeah. They called him a foundling. Would they call a son of Paz Vizsla a foundling?
Yeah.
Right, that's the interesting thing. I don't know, unless it's like through that adoption they choose those titles, like father son, after being a foundling for a while. I don't know.
Is anyone Din Djarin's father or mother or
Right.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good question.
I don't know. Yeah.
Really good question. Yeah, I love this show. I almost stayed up till 3 a.m. last night just to watch this, and then I was like, "No, that's stupid. I've got stuff to do tomorrow." But yeah, I was just so excited to get more people saying this is the way, and every time they do, I'm just like, fist in the air. This is the greatest show I've ever seen. I just like, it's used to do a million things. I know
that's what I love about it. Yeah, is they figured out how to use it to mean and to deliver it in ways that you understand what it means every time, and that's so creative. One other note I had is that when Bo-Katan was asking for a new signet, I really was thinking she was going to go Mudhorn for a while.
There was a second.
I was like, is she going to go Mudhunt? Yeah, and then and I'm glad she went Mythosaur. It makes sense, makes total sense for where the story's going, and I think I'm really starting to feel like undercover vibes with her a little bit, that she's buying in, but she also just wants to know what's going on. So I don't know how much of it's like, this will make me endearing or believing it or not, but I was like, oh, can we get it? Like, can it be a covert of 3 now, not just 2?
Yeah.
Hasbro saw the new Paladron and they're like, yes, same fig.
Yeah. Boom. New armor. Yeah, I saw that fly off in the fight, and I was like, oh, here we go. It's gonna be wild. And then so if we were talking about Creed Corner, that would be another thing we learned too. Why Boba Fett has the Mandalorian crest on his armor. It's the same thing. It's like it belongs to all Mandalore, and anyone can use it. Maybe it says they're more orthodox. They didn't really go into the details about that, but that could be.
Yeah. But a great moment. Again, a good moment of exposition that didn't feel very expedition.
Yeah. Well said.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Thank you. Nailed it.
Yeah, great. Well, so we've got a double dip of Bad Batch coming up. Why don't we move along to that?
If you're having clone problems, I feel bad for you, son. I have 99 problems, but the Bad Batch ain't one. Hit me!
All right. I think, Adam, you had a little you have a summary for the first episode 13.
Last week's.
Why don't we start there?
Pabu. All right. Here's my summary. All right. After role-playing their way through the opening scene of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Sid shows her true colors by directly threatening the Batch. He offers to help and brings the gang to her home away from home, Pabu, a village of refugees that serves not only as a sanctuary for people, but also for the remnants of their culture. After meeting Shep Hazard, the mayor of Pabu, and his daughter, Liana, the Batch is provided with a unique opportunity to stay on the island permanently and raise Omega in a stable environment. During the evening feast, Hunter notices the Muñoz, monkey-like creatures acting strangely. Just then, tremors begin to rock the island, a portent of a larger disaster, a tsunami. The tide pulls Liana and Omega's boat out, stranding them on a rock formation. The batch leaps into action. Wrecker and Tech help the citizens get to higher ground, while Hunter leaps aboard the Havoc Marauder and rescues the girls. As the wave recedes, we see that Lower Pabu is devastated. The batch offers to stay and help with the rebuilding efforts, and their offer is happily accepted by the mayor.
The end. Very cool. Just great to... Yeah, this was a fun episode. This was a total departure, but it's just like... It's like, in summary, the Bad Batch catch a break.
Finally, yeah.
It was like, welcome
right?
to our idyllic island town, and then it's like, don't mind the tremors that happen every 15 minutes.
Yeah,
don't worry about that.
Don't mind the tsunami. But like on the level of disasters and other things they've fought, like this was like lower level in a way. Like there's more there to help than to be threatened by it. It felt like, which was kind of nice for them.
Yeah, and it could show off some of their skills. It's like we don't just have to go kill people. Like we can rescue people. We can save people. There's you know our skills can be used in a lot of different ways. To do that, and
yeah. It felt very much like a giant change in the direction of the show, and I think we'll see more of that when we get to the next episode as well. Is that they're really starting to move this stuff forward. It seems like we are officially done with Sid until she strikes back, which will happen eventually. But like they've decided they're done with her, which I appreciate. They found a new home, at least for a while, right? Like I just am really enjoying this, that we are moving forward.
So I just see a more vibrant location too. I mean, it's always bright sunny days there. We can't stop complimenting the lighting in the show, and it's so nice to see their armor actually like fully lit and see like their faces fully lit and get a little bit more of their expressions and emotions, and sort of like it just felt like a fun new setting for the show. And it's nice that they have a home that's not as hostile, and out of a seedy sort of like lounge, it's now just a fun sort of beachfront.
Yeah, maybe a good place to have a child with you,
settle down,
as opposed to a bar.
Yeah, and Fee mentions that she's like, "Hey, how about some friends for the kid? Like, how about you do something for your daughter?
Some enrichment."
Yeah. Hunter's trying. He's trying to earn his worst dad of the year mug. But he's he doesn't. He's way out of his depth on all of this. But he feels for the kid and wants to do Vespire. And it seems like a great move for her. And then she immediately finds a friend, and they have a great time. And I mean, other than the massive tsunami that should have killed them all but didn't somehow. But yeah, great location. And I think we don't see a lot of sunny locations in live action because it's tougher to do with the volume.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of limiting. But we saw like first scene of Bad Batch this season. They were on a sunny beach as well.
Well, it's kind of like we got space boats in Rise of Skywalker on the Kefir stuff. Like, it's cool to see like an actual like tranquil environment with space boats, basically like these cool Star Wars designed boats that they're just awesome. And you see more of them in the next episode too. I think you see one. It's just so cool. Like, what a fun environment, new designs everywhere. The town is just cool, how it's built on the island, like how it just the tiered sort of system, and how they're all safe. It almost felt like Minas Tirith. It's like, let's all get to the top and then we'll be safe. It's like that was great.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of hubris there by what is his name? Shep Hazard, which is like again right on the nose as always with the name. But like, he got like, we got bigger, and he's like, there's a little bit of hubris there, building below that giant sheath that was clearly already established on that island to prevent the exact disaster that just happened.
Right.
But everyone lived, they took care of each other, they rebuilt together, and it's idyllic. It's nice. Yeah. The food, great food. Oh, and like
good food.
Yeah. I guess we'll get to it in the next episode, but Wrecker's living his best life for sure.
Oh yeah, he's very, very happy. I opened my summary with a bit of a joke, but it also was more true than I realized. So it really is, the opening of this episode is the same exact opening of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And I was weirdly in the right spot to notice that because I watched that movie 2 days before this episode aired. Because we were packing and moving and doing stuff, and those are kind of like the perfect background movies that we've seen a million times, and like getting ready for Dial of Destiny. It's just like, let's just do that and not watch shows that we're going to get like sucked into, and this is great. And That's the one I watched the most as a kid, so I'm very in tune to that movie. And the one thing that's amazing is the first one you might know both these, but so the club at the very beginning of Temple of Doom is Club Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah.
Right.
When he runs out, which is kind of really fun. And this was Club when you looked at the club they were in. This one was Club Lao She, which is the villain in the beginning of Temple of Doom. So it's not only like a copy of Temple of Doom, but it's nice little like kind of this weird
Spielberg high five.
I love that.
Yeah, like look, you just
referencing.
you reference us, we reference you. It's kind of a fun little moment. That I was like, oh, that's pretty great.
Oh, nice.
That's
I'm glad you caught that. That's really great. Yeah, pretty fun. Do we want to move on to the next one? This one was pretty cut
that was
and dry.
a survive the tsunami sort of situation.
Yeah,
the next one.
Yeah, and then the next episode, holy cow. I did the summary for this one. I'm sorry. This episode, so this is episode 14 now, titled Tipping Point. This episode begins with a daring mid-space rescue by Echo Rex. So we knew they split off, right? So this is their new squad. Nemec, Fireball, Gregor, and other clone troopers to infiltrate a Gozanti class cruiser. I've been trying to think of Gozanti class cruiser for like 6 episodes.
He's like, I'm giving you what type of cruiser this is.
Yeah, because I needed to know. I keep forgetting. I love the design of the Gozantis.
I need it too, honestly.
Yeah, so the Mandos have a Gozanti now of their own. We saw it in, I think, episode 3 of season 2. And so while aboard, they free 3 clone troopers and interrogate the captain of the Imperial ship named Captain Pierce. Echo retrieves some encrypted information. Captain Pierce, actually in a mirror to that other Mandalorian episode, bites on an electric suicide capsule and kills himself. So he couldn't.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Or electrocyanide.
Yeah, electrocyanide. So yeah, definite tone poem. It rhymes right there. Meanwhile, at Mount Tantus on the planet of Wayland, Hemlock offers Crosshair's freedom in exchange for the location of Omega and essentially Clone Force 99. Crosshair attempts an escape of his own and sends a desperate message, or Plan 88, to Clone Force 99 that they are now being hunted. That's what Plan 88 means, apparently. An old cut. Echo then takes his encrypted info to the crew on the Paradise Island of Pabu. The team discovers that Crosshair, and obviously Tech hacks it. The team discovers that Crosshair has been captured for fighting the Empire, and that he tried to warn the team. So they know that Crosshair's out there and trying to reach them for some purpose. Back on Wayland and Mount Tantus, Hemlock tries to comfort Tarkin that the stolen info won't blow up his plans. And he can serve as a receptacle for rebelling clones, and then he goes back to work drilling Crosshair for answers. So that was that. But so much more happened in that episode. It was
right.
A lot of. I hope that covers it. If I missed anything,
no, that's
perfect.
Actually a wonderful place to stop, because after that it gets exciting, and we'll probably talk about that quite a bit. But this is I think my favorite episode of this. This is this first, and then the one with Mayday. That episode, I think, second. I love Tipping Point. I thought this was incredible. Just we're in Mount Tantus. We're finally in the cloning facility. Yeah. We're seeing Crosshair being questioned, being interrogated. We see an interrogation droid. It's fascinating. I wanted so much out of this episode, and I hope it's just the beginning, because I almost wanted Crosshair to really get in the lower levels of that facility and see something, see more of this cloning process.
Yeah,
I think everything obviously is leading towards that. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just finally a Snoke assumes control of the First Order, is the end of a Mando and Bad Batch and all these cloning storylines. Eventually we'll get to Snoke, I imagine.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah,
they all do seem to be suddenly coming together. The threads seem to be coming together a little bit, and this set up the two episode season finale next week, right? And it feels like we're probably going to spend a lot of that in Mount Tantus, which I'm
so excited.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
so excited.
I guess you're right. So they're probably going to try and investigate and/or free Crosshair.
Yeah.
I hope he lives. I hope Crosshair makes it. I like the guy.
Ben,
I like the team with him.
I'm coming around. I think we're going to get the redemption arc.
We're getting the Jaime Lannister arc for Crosshair.
Yeah, because here's the thing too: is we remember this episode, the season. I don't think it was the very beginning of the season. It was a few episodes in. We officially boiled or got rid of got rid of Tech, or I'm sorry, got rid of Echo, right?
Right.
Not got rid of, but like he's off doing his own thing, and the Bad Batch feels light, right? Every time I go, there's wait, it's only 3 of them. It feels like that needs to be a group of 4, and I think from a storytelling standpoint, there's an open slot, and now we got to go rescue Crosshair. And Crosshair has broken his programming. He doesn't believe in the Empire anymore.
He's coming home.
I think he might. Yeah,
he's coming home.
Yeah.
That might be my teeny shot quickly. That might the shot of Echo like using his that droid, that scomp device, and then shooting like two stun bolts through the door. That might be my Utini shot of the episode.
It's pretty great.
Love Echo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Echo. He looks so good in this
cool.
season 2. He definitely has the coolest armor. I think it just looks amazing with the helmet on. It's like it looks amazing.
Yeah, it does.
He's great, and the fact that he has like a scomp link on one arm and then can hold a blaster with the other is like
that shot,
that's pretty
like,
cool.
Oh, this is the best action shot I've ever seen of someone with a blaster, stomping and blasting. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Anyways, what you were saying, because Crosshair's coming home. More on that, Ben. You were going to say something.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, a couple things about Crosshair. Well, one thing about Crosshair first. Is his eyesight permanently damaged? He had like a flashbang in that episode you're talking about with Mayday, and it definitely threw off his aim, but it's still off. Like did
he lose his swing?
He might have lost his swing. I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe there's Bacta that can like repair it, but like he's still suffering. And I mean, granted, he's also being constantly tortured, so that's probably not helping his aim much.
Sure. Yeah.
But he's having real problems shooting, which is.
Or is it also a crisis of conscience that's going on in him, right? It could also be psychological, right? That he's lost the killer instinct in him as he's seeing what the Empire's doing. So.
Well, they did like stick like a 5-inch needle through his eardrum into his brain.
They sure did.
But, that happened.
Yeah. I almost feel like that's not a bad move for that character, because to have in a Y7, I think this is a Y7 show, it's weird to have one of your character's main abilities to be a sniper.
Yeah.
It's hard to weave that into the plot every episode.
But he didn't take his rifle off kill until like the end with the doctor. He seems like he's just taking out stormtroopers, but we see with Bad Batch and then the adjacent Bad Batch with Rex and Echo.
Always on stun.
Yeah. And then, so maybe he'll start turning around his ways. But we'll see. I just wonder if he can shoot anymore. I mean, it makes me think of the Gunslinger series a little bit. I don't want to do too many spoilers if you haven't read this, because it's like the greatest book of all time.
It really is.
But
amazing.
in book 2, something happens that impairs the Gunslinger from being like a overpowered death machine.
This is book 2 of a 7-book series, and I remember reading it going, What are you doing? This is the best character, and you just like taking this attribute away from.
Yeah.
And it was the best decision that King made in that whole thing, because it just opened up that character in such a wonderful way. But I just remember going, no, as like a 10-year-old reading that book.
And I have a feeling with his helmet on and all the like metrics that he gets out of it, that'll probably restore most of like what's going on, even if he doesn't get his sight fully repaired elsewise. But he's paid a price.
And that's wizarding glass for everyone out there.
Oh, actually, I was thinking the drawing of the 3.
Oh, the drawing of the 3. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's OP in Wizarding Glass.
Yeah. OP.
He's OP, yeah.
And also he's OP in Wind Through the Keyhole.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Like, characters can
drawing of the 3.
come back from things and do other things for your stuff, but you got to watch out for those lobstrosities.
Yeah, don't mess with lobstrosities. Which is exactly what Grogu was doing at the beginning of
exactly.
Mandalorian.
Yeah, I think you're onto something, because he does miss quite a bit, and then it just seems slower at the draw. He just slower putting at the control panel. Like it just, I don't know. It was rough.
Yeah, I mean, he could barely stand from the torture, right? Like this is Han Solo right off after he gets his own form of torture, and like he's just slumps down. So it's probably just that, but it's an interesting way to go. Because if it's full powered Echo, I'll take him against the field. I mean, not Echo, Crosshair. I'd take him against the field. There's no mountain that's going to.
Wait, so of the Bad Batch, if you had to choose one, if you're going into battle, who would you get to watch your back? Like which one? Who would you
ask? Tech is coming on strong this
season.
Tech
is really good. Yeah.
I mean, Hunter seems like the weakest out of all of them, really.
I know. He seems like he should be the best, but I agree. Like, he hasn't really done much. He's just in dad mode, I think is the big thing.
That's true.
I'd feel pretty comfortable with any of them at my back. Even Omega, actually. She's got skills that I think they haven't, I haven't seen any limit to anything.
I feel like
doing.
Yeah, but if there's like heavy engagement and it's like a combat zone, I want Crosshair. If it's like I have to get somewhere or traverse some sort of obstacle, it's Tech. I don't know. Like Crosshair seems like the guy who will protect you. Just Overwatch, like they need him back basically.
I might go Omega because what they're doing with her by now is that she's all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because she's learned all the stuff from Tech. She can fly. She can do all that stuff. She's really good aim.
Amazing
she had a couple of
shot.
episodes, right, from Crosshairs and Hunter as well. And also, it's just she has situational awareness, right, which is Hunter's gift. And I don't know, humor of Wrecker. She can't get anything out of Wrecker just because she doesn't.
There's only one Wrecker. She's not moving cars or just like hefty giant fish.
You'll have to worry about the Empire, following you everywhere. But other than that, it's great.
I also wonder, so this was my other question. We kind of have two main Clone Force 99 teams, one of which is Rex's.
Can we do Clone Force 95? Can that be our cosplay?
That's us. We're all the clones with no ability.
Yeah.
Just the first batch. Not the batch, the first batch.
Yeah, we're the bad stranded cast that came out of
it. Well, we can make somewhat thinking beings. That's great. That's a good first step. But I don't know. So I'm curious to see if they all jump on the same bandwagon with Rex, and that's their new mission, because that's pretty virtuous. I was thinking about you a lot, Adam, in this, because you were sort of the first standard bearer of they're trying to save the clones from their own genocide. Way early in the season, you're saying that's what it's about, and that's what it seems like their mission is now.
Yeah, and I really liked that scene between Hunter and Echo, just like Hunter basically being like, "You can't win." And he's like, "Yeah, but you gotta try. Like you can't." Like it was such a nice little moment of just a great little learning moment. Like, yeah, but like, what else are you gonna do?
Right.
Just sit here on your island and then pretend nothing's happening out there.
Yeah. You can't do that.
So Plan 88, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. It seemed like just a signal. From what I said, that's the signal that means you're being hunted.
Yeah.
Does that relate? Does that parallel with any actual like sort of military lingo?
Yeah.
No.
I couldn't fight my way out of a white
bag.
Cool.
It was interesting.
No knowledge.
Plan 88. It's very vague.
You're asking the wrong person.
Yeah. I don't know. It definitely echoes Order 66, right?
Yeah. Right. Which we know we're getting. I think the title of the season finale is Plan 99.
Oh, Plan 99. Okay. Right.
Yeah, so Plan 88 is going to lead into Plan 99, whatever that might be.
Oh, all right.
I believe it's Plan. I'm going to double check that, but I'm pretty sure.
Are they running it back right now? Is this about to happen? Are they doing the QB sneak? Is this some sort of like play action? What is going on here?
Elaborate.
What does this mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I just again, I don't know. I think, yeah, Plan 99 is the season finale name. It's called So just so we can do this, because I like to play the title game for the next two episodes, is The Summit. So
yeah, all right.
That seems like Mount Tantus,
yeah,
right?
Right.
Like right there, and then we got Plan 99, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Maybe that's their plan going forward, right?
I think maybe they all sit down with Crosshair and figure out what Plan 99 is, and I think that might be larger than the Bad Batch.
Are the clones going to destroy the clone facility, guys?
Well,
I wonder. That's a really interesting question.
Is that going to be part of the history that like the early cloning operations were basically sabotaged by clones who were disaffected clones from the Clone Wars, basically?
That's pretty poetic, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, obviously, like Mount Tantus would be one of them, and they're headed there. But then maybe, in addition to rescuing old clone troopers,
they're like, we got to bring this thing down, and Crosshair knows where it is.
Yeah, they got to stop doing these. These cloning operations are going to dark places, and they need to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that information is going to come from Crosshair, right? Because he's seen the belly of the beast now, and he's been a part of the Empire, and he's just been gathering intel and knows how dark the corners of these operations are.
Yeah. the fact that Rampart is just like cut out of the deal, and then Crosshair's just like on a lab table. It's just like that got dark quick. I was like, wow, that storyline just led to nowhere. Like nowhere quick. It was rough.
Yeah. It's very Empire Strikes Back, right? Where like Darth Vader's just like, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not, just starts smoking officers. And like that's what's happening. We're getting these big bads and they just keep dropping like flies. Mm-hmm. And yeah, now Hemlock also on the noise. So we get the poison gas that finally subdues Crosshair in that control room, and Hemlock's immune, which is like
that's so crazy.
Yeah, it is immune, but I think so. Like Hemlock is a poison, but you can build up an immunity to Hemlock. So that's I don't know, another tone poem.
Yeah.
Very clever. Yeah, it was also hard to believe though. But I was thinking like, did he built up that immunity just naturally from exposure and not like manipulating his genes or something? Like I'm just what's the point of that if he didn't manipulate his own genes somehow or something? I don't know.
I think it just shows how much he doesn't. It's like the old. I can't think who it is, but just so obsessed with research and whatever, he's just accidentally exposed himself so many times that he's fine.
Did you mean the Dread Pirate Roberts?
Yeah, there you go.
So he's just like huffing that neurotoxin at his desk.
Just like a little bit every day, with his coffee.
A little bit. Yeah.
Wow. Just to prove that he's a total sociopath, and for that exact moment, and that's why he was so smug when he walked in there.
He's like, I've been waiting my entire life
for this. He's like, I'm so awesome right now. I'm so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's wild. It's going to be a fun end. I'm a little sad to see it go. It's been another fantastic season of Bad Batch, but what a trip we've got for next week. That's going to be great.
Yeah. Hope we get a third season.
Yeah.
So wait and see. Yeah.
So we've been trying to tell people about these episodes with Mando coming out. We can't wait really till the following Sunday to talk about it because we're too stoked. So we've been kind of trying to do these on Wednesday afternoons, which I know can be tough for people to actually watch the episode and then catch up here. But do you guys, I guess we'll figure it out. We're going to try and give you some notification on when we're going to do the episodes. But if it's Wednesday afternoon again next week, I couldn't be happier. These are my favorite things. So we'll let it ride. We'll really appreciate all of you tuning in, watching us live, and all of you listening on the podcast, as you have been for a very long time. So appreciative of that. Contact us. We've, a Linktree, Instagram, Twitter. We're on there, lurking. We have a Discord channel that we like to talk to people on as well. And do those things, man. Oh, and like us, if you wouldn't mind. If you've listened to this podcast, if you could just take 5 seconds and hit a 5-star rating, that would mean a lot to us.
And it really helps. It helps other people find us, which would be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening to us. Have a fantastic week, and may the Force be with you. And now the outro.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you, and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.